room right about now. So, hey y'all, it's Necey Dixon. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, y'all, welcome back. I ain't got it in me to sing today because I'm on a time crunch because it's a lunchtime live. So I want to get through this review for the two shows that I missed over the weekend. I will say the two most important shows over the weekend because y'all, if this was not a weekend for TV, I don't know what was, okay? This weekend we had Love and Marriage DC reunion. I'm not reviewing that, you guys. I refuse. I'm not reviewing that, okay? We got Love and Marriage DC reunion part 2. Bell Collective came back, which I will be reviewing. Reddit Love came back, which I will be reviewing. We had Real Housewives of Atlanta as well as Married to Medicine. TV was just like going off. And it was actually the weekend that I spent in New Orleans. So I got to hang out with our fave, with Bondi, one of the ladies, first panel ladies, my girl. And it was fun. So without further ado, y'all, I ain't going to waste y'all's time. We're going to go ahead and get into the review. We're going to start out with Married to Medicine. And then we're going to end with Real Housewives of Atlanta. Hey, Tina. Hey, Jay. Hey, Abby. Hey, Bertha, Kenya. And Jay, since I just saw your member icon, we have an interview that's going down today. I wasn't even going to say tonight. Today. So if you are a member of my channel, Bondi's channel, Jamie's channel, y'all be on the lookout because we're about to be interviewing Monique from that other show, Real Housewives of Potomac, as well as Love and Marriage DC. And I would love to see y'all in the comments if you're a member for the live that's happening today at 3 Central Standard Time. Again, that's happening on Jamie's channel. So if you're a member, check the community wall. And I already linked y'all to it, okay? And if you're not a member, it'll drop later on this week, okay? Yes, hey Monique. I did enjoy the beignets from Cafe Du Monde. Oh my gosh. I tried to go like right before we headed out, but I forgot I didn't have cash. Yes, Abby already got her link. Check. Okay, cool. So we're going to start out with Married to Medicine. This episode was funny AF. And again, y'all, sorry I'm late on this, but I was out of town and I had to catch up on all these shows. So y'all, the episode starts out with Heavenly and Dr. Jackie, and they are still at Contessa's house. After all that roaring came on, the roaring from underneath Contessa's belly, she was just screaming with that purple wig on. It was just too much, y'all. So Heavenly and Dr. Jackie are talking, and Heavenly says, "You mad at me, not your husband." So the way Heavenly feels about it is like, hey, don't take it out on me because you mad at your husband, but you need somebody to take the blame. And Dr. Heavenly, even though you dead ass wrong for talking about your friends on YouTube for money, even though you get paid from being a doctor, having real estate, being on the show, it's like, girl, why would you even go sign yourself up for that? Or auntie, feel weird calling you girl, but auntie, why would you sign yourself up for that, right? So while that's true, I do believe that Contessa is definitely looking for somebody to put the blame on. I told y'all last week that it very much felt like to me that Contessa isn't even mad on her own. It feels like Contessa is upset on behalf of someone else. And when I say behalf of someone else, I mean her husband, y'all. Because in episode 1 or 2, she was just talking about how she wanted to be in Heavenly's fashion show. And it's like, so do you want to be cool with her or do you not want to be cool with her? Because one thing that I noticed this whole episode, from all the crying and the betrayal and everybody want to be a victim, both of y'all want to be friends. Both of y'all want to be friends. Y'all just don't know how to get to that space. Contessa, you didn't have to do all this if you wanted to be her friend. I know Contessa has always wanted to be her friend. The reason why she took this method to try to embarrass Heavenly, I will never understand. Y'all, she did it because of Scott. To be all the way real. So the way Dr. Heavenly feels, she says, you know what? Contessa is my friend. F the rest of them. I don't care about how the other ones feel. And when she says the other ones, she's specifically talking about Toya and Dr. Simone. So Heavenly says, you know what? I just need some time. I need some time to recover. So she ends up leaving. And while she's outside, you see Quad and Simone, and they're still in the movie theater room and they're talking. And Simone is just like, yeah, we're tired. We're tired of Heavenly doing this and talking about us. And it was just so much yelling. Quad is yelling from her belly too. And she was saying, well, this was not the right method. This was not the right method. This was not the proper action. You shouldn't have taken this action. It gets us nowhere. Two wrongs don't make a right. Screaming, right? So Quad says, yes, I understand that she was dead ass wrong. But when I fall out with people, I call them on the phone. And Dr. Simone is like, girl, not you being the one telling us what we should have done when we know last season you went off on Dr. Heavenly because of some emojis that she put under your pictures that just so happened to be a misunderstanding. So that was funny AF. And they just start yelling. Then Simone says, you know, this is America. I have a choice of who I want to fuck with, who I don't want to fuck with. So they ended up laughing it off or whatever. But Toya made a really good point in her confessional. Toya said it's funny because Dr. Heavenly has both of them arguing about the same thing. Quad is saying they should have called her on the phone. Simone is saying she shouldn't be on YouTube. They both are saying the same thing. So I think it's just too funny. MB says, I think she's mad she put out so much information about her marriage last year. She had Quad say yes, girl, or whoever this is, MB. Yes, that's exactly what I said. Contessa is regretting putting out so much information about her marriage that she feels like she has to turn up and punish people on Scott's behalf because Scott is mad that she put out all their business last season. And I mentioned this too in episode 1 or 2. She couldn't even say out of her own mouth that she was filing for divorce. She wanted Quad to be her mouthpiece. You want to know why? Because she's afraid of the repercussions that may come from her saying it on her own. Because when they get home, her husband gonna be arguing. So I guess it won't be as bad if Quad says it. So to be real, y'all, I don't feel for neither one of these ladies. To be all the way real. I don't feel for either one of them. If I had to choose, I would say I feel more strongly that what Contessa did was wrong. And the reason why I feel more strongly is because personally, I would rather know what you were saying about me in the streets than to have you plot on me. I think that's a whole different level of betrayal. If my friend is talking about me in a way that I don't respect and they're doing it in public, I can pull my friend to the side and be like, don't do that shit or I'm not going to talk to you no more. I'm not going to fuck with you, right? But it's another thing to have someone plot on you. So if I had to choose, I understand where both of these ladies are coming from. But if I had to choose, I think Contessa is doing the most and she's fighting on someone else's behalf. So we move on now to this top picture. You see Contessa then ran off in her room while all the ladies arguing in her house. She got her robe on, wig came off, contacts came off. She got her glasses on. She didn't wind down for the night. Because I feel, y'all, and this is another thing that I noticed. All those ladies were in your house. They were still walking in and out of your house all night long arguing. Meanwhile, you ran off, which seems like ages ago, changed your whole outfit, wound down for the night. And that tells me that you were waiting for someone to come check on you. You were waiting for someone to come say, oh, don't cry. Oh, Heavenly is wrong. And when Dr. Jackie came to you and said you should have called her on the phone, I'm sorry that you feel this way, but you should have called her on the phone, you were getting even more upset. So Contessa is like, oh, I'm so mad. And she was mad. Her lip was quivering. She was, she was growling where you couldn't even see the top lip. She said, I'm so mad. I was wrong about who she is. Y'all were right. And this is what I can't stand. In Dr. Contessa's language, you can tell that this is all about how she feels about Contessa, but she's too afraid to stand on her own and say one-on-one she has an issue with somebody, with anybody. Y'all, she didn't even do it with her husband. When it came to her husband, it took all of the ladies to sit down and try to tell him about his stuff last season. And now that she's feeling some type of way about Dr. Heavenly, you want to camouflage your personal feelings about Dr. Heavenly as a concern for the entire group. That's what I can't get with. So Dr. Jackie is hugging her. She's saying, y'all were right about her. And Contessa says, how do you not get mad, Dr. Jackie? How do you not get mad about the things that she says about you? And I felt like that was Contessa's opportunity to deflect, turn right, turn left, and say, okay, well, since you disagree with, or since you don't see it the way I see it 100%, how do you have sympathy for her? Because remember, she talked about you and your marriage too. That was what she was trying to do, right? So, anyways, that's what she was trying to do. And Dr. Jackie simply tells her 2 wrongs don't make a right. And I agree. And I think that that's very mature for Dr. Jackie to be able to step outside of it and say, hey, what you did was fucked up. What Dr. Heavenly did was effed up for sure, right? Antoinette says, no good deed goes unpunished. I gave this a skip in front and they won't leave me alone. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I cannot. So, and Ty says Contessa has always been opinionated. Ty says people forget Heavenly and Contessa bumped heads when Contessa first came on the show. Okay. 2 things can be true. Contessa can pick her battles, but the things that I'm judging her off of is the way that she's handled herself with her husband, not being able to stand up against her husband and, draw the line somewhere, especially on camera. You had other people do it for you. And now it's looking very parallel that this issue you had with your friend, Heavenly, you needed other people to speak on your behalf. Who takes the time to go through her clips and find out what she said about her other people if you're the one spearheading all of this? If you're the one who has a personal feeling about this or you feel some type of way, you should have said something. I don't think that it required you bringing the entire group together, because if the other girls knew she was doing it and they were like, whatever, I don't care. That's just what it was. Dr. Simone and Heavenly don't really have no relationship. Toya and Heavenly definitely don't have no damn relationship. So, of course, they were just going to go along with the get along because they don't like Dr. Heavenly anyway. It's no reason for Dr. Heavenly to have sit-down one-on-one conversations with Dr. Simone and Toya when everybody knows she don't fuck with them. So, Contessa, for you to be an actual friend of Heavenly, it could have been handled differently. I'm sorry. It could have been handled differently. So, we're going to move on to now. We see Quad and Anila, and they're talking about it. Quad says that she feels like it's wrong across the board. They're in the kitchen. Next, Toya and Simone, they meet up the next day. Hey, y'all. They meet up the next day, and they're talking about the events that happened. So Simone says from the moment that Anila walked in, the energy was bad. And they show a flashback from whenever Anila walks in. When Anila walks in, she's saying, oh, they're going to come after you, Heavenly. Heavenly, they're going to do this. And they want to know, like, are y'all just scared of Heavenly or what? And to be all the way real, y'all, I feel like the energy was bad from point one. Okay? The energy was bad from jump off before Anila got there. Y'all got someone who disagreed and went the opposite direction of the foolishness that y'all wanted to be on, and y'all gonna call that bad energy? Girl, I guess. But in the same breath, y'all, I do feel like Anila could potentially be scared of Dr. Heavenly. But I do have to agree with Quad and Anila. I don't think it was the right method. I don't think it was the right method at all. So then they started talking about Heavenly laughing. Y'all, that was funny as hell. Heavenly was laughing at the video footage. And they were just like, what was she laughing for? I think she was laughing because she was in disbelief. And that's actually what Heavenly's saying. So they showed the 2 situations. You see Toya and Simone talking about the events that happened the day before. Then you see Anila and Heavenly talking about the events too. And that's where Dr. Heavenly says she was laughing because she was in disbelief. Like, wow, I can't believe that Contessa would handle it like this, right? And on the other side of the conversation, Simone and Toya, they're feeling away because they're like, she talks about everybody's marriages. Everyone's being vulnerable about their stuff except for her and Daddy. Now, for her and Dr. Damon. Y'all, everybody has been vulnerable. Now, my thing is, if Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Damon choose to come on this show and not spill no tea while still creating a need for them to be on this show, I think that y'all are mad that they're working smart and not hard. Because this is one of the things I hate. When you get somebody who is casted on one of these shows, they don't bring nothing to the show, and all they do is facilitate back and forth between the women. Nothing entertaining is actually happening. I feel like Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Damon have been entertaining without telling y'all the nasty secrets about their life. Y'all are mad that y'all secrets are out. And if you want to be all the way real, I don't know how many times I'm gonna say this. If you want to be all the way real, Toya is starting to learn. Okay? Toya is starting to learn from Dr. Heavenly in that way. Because y'all initially were sharing stuff before, but when it comes down to this house, you holding on to the information the same way that Heavenly holds on to the mess about her marriage that we don't know about that could be happening behind closed doors. So I'm not mad at Heavenly for doing that. Y'all feeling some type of way. And Simone and Cecil, we didn't see all of it. Okay? We didn't see all of it. Y'all are not friends with Heavenly. Okay? Y'all are not friends with Heavenly. I don't get it. So, right, nobody knows nothing about the marriage, and she is messy for the show. She provides an essential character on this show without telling y'all everything about her life. And then you got to backtrack and you got to lie after you've shared so much, like Toya. So, next, y'all, Anila and Heavenly, back to them. Heavenly said she did not expect Contessa to do that. Oh my gosh. And she told Anila, well, some friends of Quad heard Eugene say that Toya was the worst mistake that he ever made in his life. I was like, oh my gosh. The way she said it with so much conviction. So now, y'all, we move on from that to we see Contessa at work, and she is, just checking out professionally, a former NFL player. And she's talking about how she doesn't hate her job today. Y'all, this is funny as hell. It's funny as hell to me. Only because y'all know what y'all are doing with the editing, okay? Editors, production. When we first met Contessa this season in episode 1, she was talking about how she was bodybuilding and she wouldn't be in too bad condition to leave if she had to go through a divorce. Now we see her working on one of her patients and talking about how she don't hate her job today and the man look good. Contessa, something tells me that some of the stuff that Heavenly said was true. Something tells me that. Because I get the feeling that you and Scott are just back together. I don't get the feeling that you all have rekindled love. I get the feeling that y'all are back together. Y'all are going to continue to be a joint family, which is great. And everything is pretty much still work in progress. You are not two feet back in the door, okay? You still putting your big toe in the water to see how hot it is. So all of this with Heavenly is like, for what to me? I don't get it. It's for what? So then she talks about CTE and all that other stuff. And then we see Anila, and Anila is actually doing her job being a mom. She talks about how her kids are a handful. She talks about how she has to get them ready for school, cook them breakfast, do all this, drop one kid off at one school, one kid at another school because they go to different schools. Yes, Jen Lou, they not back together. It's business as usual. And I think Contessa wants the heat off of her marriage now, so she's flipping it on Heavenly. Facts. Yes, Contessa, tell me you're thinking about your husband without telling me. It's still in the back of her mind, which is why I'm like, why are we doing all this? If you know that there's a chance that you may decide to leave your husband because you still haven't forgiven him for the stuff he did, why are we giving Heavenly all this energy? Anyway, Anila is taking care of her kids, and she's saying that it's a full day, no breaks. And y'all, no lie, whenever she starts explaining everything that she's doing, I'm like, damn, that is a lot. But then on the other hand, I'm like, you don't work a 9 to 5. You don't work a 9 to 5 and your kids are in school. I feel like it's a different story when people have kids who are not daycare age and kids who are not school age, and you still have to work a 9 to 5 and find a way to make stuff work. So I think that Anila will eventually find a way to figure out her new routine. that's really all I got to say about that. I already gave y'all my feelings on how I felt about her and her tripping about Miss Gomez. So now, y'all, we go over to Heavenly and Daddy, Dr. Damon, and they're at home. They're about to get ready to go to Simone and Cecil's Halloween party. And Dr. Heavenly's downstairs just shuffling some stuff around. And she says, hey, she starts talking like this. Hey, Daddy, where you been? I ain't seen you. And he's talking about, hey, buddy. I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot with the theatrics. Anyway, she says, so I didn't tell you what happened. I didn't tell you what happened, did I? Nah, you didn't tell him what happened because he probably told you when you decided to start the YouTube channel that it was going to be some mess. And now that it's a mess, you don't want to tell him you were right, okay? Exactly, MB. So she said, I didn't tell you what happened. So I went over to Contessa's house and I sat down with the ladies and they started playing all these videos of things that I've said without saying the word YouTube. What do you mean? All the videos of things that you said. Heavenly, say it with your chest. Talk about what the videos were, okay? The videos was of you talking big shit about your friends, okay? But, you know, Dr. Damon can read between the lines because he knows his wife better than anybody. And before Dr. Damon, not that he would, but before anybody would even think to ask her questions about what the videos were, she jumps to, look at this picture. Look at this picture of me and Contessa. We was best friends. We were like best friends. Look at this picture of us. And she trying to cry. She trying to find a tear. This is the worst thing she could have done to me. And we see basically exactly what we saw Contessa do with Dr. Jackie earlier in the episode. Both of these ladies want sympathy. Both of these ladies feel like they were crossed, but y'all want to be friends at the end of the day, which is why I'm like, this is all some bullshit. This is all for naught because y'all want to be friends. Go be friends. So she goes, yeah, she got with people I don't like, people she know I don't fool with. She got with Toya, she got with Simone, and she plotted. And, you know, suddenly the voice calms down and they sit down on the bed and she says, but if you think about it, the stuff that I said was actually funny. Dr. Damon says, I think you have to realize, Heavenly, whenever you say something, you can't take it back. And Heavenly ends up walking off, of course, because she don't want to hear that. She don't want to hear that. She just wants him to rub her back and rock her to sleep like a little baby because she wants some sympathy in this moment. So they go to the confessional and Dr. Damon says, you have to realize, women have to realize being meek and soft is a superpower, not being aggressive. And I'm just like, I can't, okay? This thing that Dr. Heavenly is putting on, Dr. Heavenly feeds into Dr. Damon's male ego. And that's exactly what he meant whenever he said being meek is a superpower, which I think is like, that's why we always see Heavenly calling this man daddy and always talking about what she does for him sexually. And she's always talking about whatever you need, I can provide all this, all that. But when she with her friends, you know, she is very much giving alpha energy. So it's very interesting that he took the topic that had to do with Contessa and Heavenly and tried to turn it into something about male versus female structures. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that, but whatever. So finally, y'all, we get to this dang Halloween party. Toya and Eugene show up as Jay-Z and Beyonce. I don't know. Eugene, no. Eugene, no. They thought he was Bob Marley. Toya pulled out her Ivy Park gear. Toya, try harder. Try harder. There's many more iconic outfits than you pulling out the Ivy Park gear. And then Contessa lies about being out of town, like she isn't going to come. She lies about being out of town, but then on the other hand says that she wants to study. Like, I don't know. So as the party's going on, pretty much everybody is there, but we're missing Anila and Dr. Karan. And when we're missing them, finally we get a somebody pulls up in a U-Haul truck and they honking the horn. And who pulls up? Anila and Dr. Karan. They come out the car, and Anila has this pad of this writing board or whatever, this clip, and she says, "We're looking for the Harris family. We're here to help you move." Y'all, that was funny as fuck. That was almost as funny as whenever Nene and Greg showed up to a different Halloween party wearing the roach, what is it called? The pest situation outfit. That was funny. So they hop out the car and everybody's like, "Toya, Eugene, you got to come outside." And Toya's laughing it off, trying to play it cool. But you want to know who was triggered? Dr. Eugene was triggered. I'm triggered. He was triggered, okay? He didn't like it. Toya wanted to play it cool because she wanted to make it seem like it didn't matter to her. But Dr. Eugene could not keep his cool. So they come inside, and Toya is like, "Anila, let me pull you to the side." And as she pulls her to the side, she says, "It's one thing if we're joking as friends, but it's another when my husband is mad." And Anila's like, "We're not friends." When Anila said that, I was like, ooh, I was here for Anila and Dr. Karan. I was here. Because one thing I appreciate is if you do something, stand on it. And Dr. Anila and not Dr. Anila, Anila and Dr. Karan, they stood on it. So one of the other things that I had to leave in here, I couldn't forget, was whenever Eugene was feeling some type of way, he was like, "Man, that was messed up." Dr. Karan, he keeps going. He keeps playing his role, and he says, "Oh, babe, I think we're missing that label, fragile." And when he said fragile, I about screamed, y'all. It was funny. And be stoked, you're 100% correct. That hurt Eugene's pride as a man because he knows that they keep overextending their finances. That's exactly why. Meanwhile, Toya was gonna play it cool like it was a non-factor, but y'all know that actually hit somewhere for them. It did. And Marco, I'm here with you. People on the internet are mad, but I thought it was funny AF. Okay. So next, y'all, the men, they get together. And when the men get together at the Halloween party, Eugene is like, "Hey, you shouldn't get involved because that's women's business." Dr. Karan is like, "Y'all move 3 times in a calendar year." That shit was funny. When he says that, okay? When he says that, he said, "Everybody goddamn moves." He said, "I'm leaving. I'm getting my wife and we're leaving." You ran from that party because you didn't want nobody to talk about why y'all move every 2 seconds. Meanwhile, if you would have played it cool like Toya has got her life together. Okay, she even mentioned the lie in the confessional saying that they're close to being billionaires if they keep flipping houses. That was not a house flip, Toya. A flip is when you buy a house for a low price, you repair it for an average price, you sell it for 2.5 times the amount or more. You make some money on it, okay? What you did was not a flip. What you did was signed up for a high mortgage, and then you backtrack and was like, "Hold on, let's figure this out," while still spending money on rent, and it didn't sound right. It didn't sound right. But Toya was going to stick to the script while Eugene was not able to, take the heat of the kitchen. So he got the hell on out. So next, y'all, after the Halloween, I missed this part. At the Halloween party, Quad and Heavenly have a conversation. He was a runner. He was a track star. He was a runner. He was a track star. Okay. So I missed this part at the Halloween party. Quad and Heavenly have a conversation. Heavenly pulls Quad to the side and she says, "I want to apologize because the things that I said about you were not true. I know you don't sleep with married men. And the reason why I'm not apologizing to the other ones is because I know what I said about you wasn't true." Heavenly says, "Okay, well, I appreciate that." And she says in her confessional that if something like that happens again, the friendship is done. Null and void. It's done. And confessional people are like, "Why would you say it's not true if you just told Anila at brunch the other day that that's actually what she was hearing?" And she was like, "Y'all lie. They got the footage, Heavenly. You did say that." You did say that. So that's funny. So y'all, final scene, we get to the men, and the men decide to go axe throwing, which was not a good idea. They would never let the ladies do that if they was arguing. They make some funny jokes about Scott not drinking beer. And Dr. Martin is there, the new addition to the show. You remember his wife is in real estate and he's a dentist. So they're trying to catch up Dr. Martin on the mess that happened at the Halloween party the night before, and they're talking about Karan, and then all of a sudden, boom, Dr. Karan shows up. The room gets awkwardly silent, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So next, oh, good point, Jen Lu. Good point. Stephanie Wright, this is a comment right here. We're building our dream home. That doesn't mean equal flipping a house. It's not flipping a house, okay? It's not. So anyway, Dr. Karan shows up and he's kind of looking like, what is everybody talking about? So Eugene says, hey, this is how I feel. I feel like what you did was wrong. It wasn't funny to me, so you should respect that. Dr. Karan says, hey, I'm sorry if I offended you and your wife, but it was funny as fuck. When he said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I love Dr. Karan and Anila. It was so funny. So anyway, and 811 says that's not what she said. 811 said, oh, 811, I'm telling everybody, Heavenly didn't say that she knew for a fact Quad was messing with married men. She said that it was word on the street. So if you're saying it's word on the street to Anila, why would you go tell Quad you knew it wasn't true, but you continue to spread it? So that's my point. But back to Dr. Karan, it was funny AF. He said, I'm sorry if I offended y'all, but it was funny AF. So Eugene gets mad again. And he's saying, see, now you're doubling down. And Dr. Karan says, yeah, he said, I think it was funny. I still think it was funny. He said, you don't want me to make jokes? I'll be the dullest MF here. And Eugene says, call me a MF for one more time. And he stands up like he's ready to fight. And I'm thinking, Eugene, you want to fight this man because you and your wife are stretching your finances and he hit a sore spot. He hit a sore spot because not once did Dr. Karan call you an MFer. Dr. Karan said, if you don't want me to make jokes, I will be the dullest MFer here. But no, you wanted to go off with that. Okay. So they left it on to be continued. So that's all from Married to Medicine, y'all. Do me a favor, like the video. Once we like the video, we can go ahead and jump into Real Housewives of Atlanta. All right, y'all. Time to get into Real Housewives of Atlanta. Before we do, y'all, I just need to remind y'all what we got going on tonight for Ladies First Panel and what I have going on for my channel. So update. I was gone over the weekend reviewing the show on Tuesday because I was actually in New Orleans. I hung out with our girl Bonnie, and then the weekend before, everybody was in Dallas, so we got to hang out, and that was cool. But I missed these two shows that I'm catching up on right now, and I also missed the brand new premieres that came out on OWN. I missed Love and Marriage DC Reunion Part 2, which I'm not going to review, don't care to review. I missed Ready to Love episode 1. I missed Bell Collective episode 1. I watched Bell Collective last night. Have not watched Ready to Love yet, but I think I may just do a review for those shows this weekend or maybe towards the end of the week. Y'all tell me, do y'all want a separate video for the episode 1 of those shows, or can y'all wait for episode 2? I'm good either way. If it's hitting for something, I definitely will review it. But if episode 1 was not hitting for anything already to love, I don't see myself coming back to do that. Now, as far as Ladies First Panel, I always say this, y'all. If you become a member of my channel, Jamie channel, or Bonnie's channel or website, there are perks, okay? So perks I'm speaking of is we're actually interviewing Monique at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time over on Jamie That's Me channel. If you're a member of my channel, go ahead and check out the community wall, and you'll have a link so you can watch that video live. And then on top of that, you can leave comments in the chat as we're talking to Monique. And if you're not a member, you'll just watch it on live premiere, and we won't see your comments when we do the review. It'll be a pre-recorded thing. Okay? So, without further ado, now that I got all that out the way, because I'm talking at the speed of a yeah. Okay? Cameron says, Real Housewives of Atlanta's highest viewed episode of the season so far. And I don't know why. Yes, MB part 2 was a snooze fest for me. Okay. Cool. Okay. I'm reading that comment, T. All right, let's move on to Real Housewives of Atlanta. So, y'all, this episode starts out, and the first thing of significance I can remember is Sheree talking about She by Sheree. She had her son in the kitchen. She's like, I might need you to model for when my stuff comes out. And y'all, Sheree's son is, I used to think he was so attractive. I used to follow him on Instagram. We like close to the same age. But yeah, that's a handsome looking man. And she was saying, yeah, Elite, I saw that. Kenya did explain the viewership numbers. She says that it has something to do with like people who watch the show live versus people who watch the show digitally. Knock my glasses off. Digitally and on streaming services, they watch it late. So that explains the views. But anyway, yeah, she's talking about She by Sheree. So she said that she finally hired a designer. And when she shows sketches of the pieces, did anybody notice that the sketches said spring 22? It's now summer. It's now summer, fall 22. Okay? It's now summer, fall 22. And I ain't seen nothing drop. I haven't seen nothing drop. I haven't heard about anything dropping. And I feel like once her stuff does drop, it'll be a big deal. Let me look up She by Sheree. Because I was like, this says spring 22. And Monique, she's not 42. You mean 24? Was that a typo? Sheree Whitfield, fitness, wellness, lifestyle. There's nothing that you can shop on her website to this day. To this day, is nothing that you can shop on her website. And I just checked right now while we all on live. So, yep, and I did. At the top of the sketch, it says spring 22. So what's going on? All right, so next, y'all, we move on to Candy, and we see Candy, and she's having a birthday party for Ace. Ace is just so smart. I don't even know how old he is at this point, but it feels like he was just a baby yesterday. So she has a birthday party for Ace at the house, and she has a whole gaming truck for the kids, and I'm like, that's cute. Drew and Candy, Drew and Kenya are there with their kids as well. So we see Candy, Kenya, and Drew together as a trio. And on the other side of things, we see Sheree, Sonia, and Marlo as a trio. But before we get to them, let me call this out. I thought it was funny. I thought this part was funny. So Candy, Kenya, Drew, and Todd are talking about security in their neighborhoods. Kenya, she drops a light flex. She's like, you should get a 24-hour police officer to sit in front of your house. Cardi B has that. Cardi B lives a mile away from me. Okay. Cardi B is my neighbor. Slight flex. Okay. Now, on the other side of things, Drew says, yeah, I love Roswell. I love my neighborhood. We have an armed officer at the front of our neighborhood. We live in a gate. It just makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. Now, Drew, don't play with me. I tried to give you benefit of the doubt. Sorry, I'll start. I tried to give you benefit of the doubt, Drew, a couple episodes back. What? 2 episodes ago, when Drew said Drew didn't say anything. When Fatum revealed that you and your husband had multiple aliases, my idea was maybe you had these aliases because you don't want people to know where you actually live. You don't want these people to know your real name, right? But the fact that you say that you live in a neighborhood with an armed police officer, maybe, I don't know, but I don't think the people checking for you like that, Drew. I don't think the people checking for you like that, Drew. Not for you to mention this armed police officer. So I just bust out laughing like, girl, you don't even have to add to the conversation. But all right. So, yes, exactly. Drew always gives me hope, and then she comes with the mess, and I'm like, Drew, wrong road. And everybody, yes, Deuce was not at the party. That's interesting. So, we also find out that Candy's play had to get shut down due to Omicron. I love to see Candy being vulnerable and talking about how everybody thinks that she got everything easily. And she's had this cry a couple times on the show. And I know a lot of people do think that about Candy. Everybody thinks that whatever Candy touches is gold. Candy has endless money to do whatever she wants to do, but she wasn't lying. She came from a single parent household, and she has been famous since she was young. So, I mean, shout out to Candy. I'm glad to see her vulnerable. And I have to say, people appreciate Candy so much because you can tell that it's not just about her. Everything she does, she finds a way for other people to try to win. And I appreciate that about Candy. So it was cool to see her being vulnerable. Now we're going to get to the non-factors. Now we're going to get to Marlo, Sheree, and Sonya at Little Archive. Marlo is giving Sheree an update on her nephew. She says one of them actually missed being home. The other one is just lays in bed all day playing video games. Sonya then arrives, and of course, she starts talking about Kenya. This is where you're going to get cussed out, okay? This is where you're going to get cussed out, Sonya. Sonya ends up calling Kenya on the phone because she wants everybody to know that Jamaica is a +1 event. It's a couple trip, and she wants to be clear because it's 3 single people in the group. This is what I don't understand. When Sonya explained it to Marlo and Sheree, she said everybody gets a +1. When Sonya called Kenya on the phone, she thought she was going to be able to flex. And she's trying to make a joke of the fact that Kenya felt away that New York was a couple's trip, and she claimed she didn't know it. So she tried to call Kenya on the phone and say, hey, Kenya, just want to be clear that whenever we go to Jamaica, this is a couple's trip. Kenya hangs up in her face and said, girl, I don't have time for that. I ain't trying to hear that. And you know what, Kenya? I don't blame you. Nobody has time for negativity. And I think even though to like somebody who's not really looking at the details, you'd be like, that's not a big deal. She didn't have to hang up in her face. But somebody who knows how Sonya's been moving, you already know what it is. You didn't have to call Kenya in front of those girls to say that it was a couple's trip when you just explained to them that all she had to do was bring a +1. You should have led that she could have brought a +1. You didn't have to say couple's trip. And yes, Kenya read her energy. And it was the fact that Sonya said it 3 times. Sonya was really trying to let her know, like, letting you know. She was saying without saying, I know you threw a fit in New York, but this is a couple's trip. And it was being messy. So, Kenya, I'm not mad at you hanging up in her face. That's what I call growth. Okay? That's growth. Because you're not about to go back and forth with her. You hung up. Now, next, y'all, Marlo goes to see a parenting coach, and she is in MB. I'm about to hang up. MB, I'm about to hang up. MB says, we all know Brooklyn is Kenya's +1. Girl, bye. So Marlo goes to see a parenting coach. She sees Dr. Tart, who is a Christian family coach or something like that, therapist. He's a handsome man. And he says, hey, I'd like to lead us in prayer. So he prays. He says, you know, I hope that we reveal some things, Lord, all this stuff. And as soon as he lets go, Marlo says, and sing. Oh, I'm such a nervous wreck right now. Oh my gosh, I'm such a nervous wreck. Not a single tear coming down her face. And I'm pretty sure you were nervous, Marlo, because you feel bad about what you did. Now, one of the things that the coach ends up saying, Dr. Tart, he says that he doesn't think that she's wrong for kicking the boys out. However, they want to make sure that they're staying on guard for if the boys feel abandoned. But the reason why he says I don't think you're wrong is because who knows what would have happened if she allowed them to stay. And I hate it. I find it so difficult to feel sorry for Marlo. I do too. And I hate it. Because sometimes I'm like, damn, am I messed up? Am I upped up for not feeling bad for Marlo? But I guess y'all feel the same way. So I guess the coach is right. I thought to myself, I never thought about that. It might have been worse if she allowed them to stay because everybody's arguing about how she's not shit for kicking them out. But this, to me, I still feel like she's not shit for this situation. Only because Marlo has tried to garner sympathy out of everyone. If you came to the mental breaking point to where you felt like you were going to harm those boys if they continued to stay in the house, I would have kept that shit to myself. But you went to every single person in the group trying to garner up sympathy, and you wanted somebody to say congratulations, thank you for sending the kids to Bel Air. Okay, you wanted to be Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv, number one and number two. Okay, so yeah, I don't feel bad for Marlo for that reason. So next, y'all, we see Candy, Todd, Riley, and Kayla, and they're having conversations about the future of their family. And we're going to go ahead and summarize this up. They talk about the trust. They talk about how Todd has different parenting than Candy, and if something happened to either one of them or both of them, God forbid, it would be a difficult situation to figure out how things will go because they are so different. Riley talks about how they treat their lifestyles differently. Candy gets offended. Todd gets offended because he feels like Candy doesn't trust him to make sure that Riley was good if something happens to her. And I understand why he and his feelings about that, but y'all are different. So later on in the episode, we see Candy and Todd just reassures Candy that everything's going to be good. They come to an agreement about the trust and, everything feels good. Candy also gets the opportunity to continue doing play work. So I'm like, okay, I'm glad that came back to a climax and everything wasn't just end all be all for Thoughts of a Colored Man. Well, it is end all be all for Thoughts of a Colored Man, but she has more opportunity to do things as a Black woman on Broadway. So next we see Sheree sourcing fabrics, and y'all, I took note because I'm petty. When Sheree showed up to the fabric place, the lady said, "What are you interested in?" Sheree said, "Sportswear." What are you interested in? Are you interested in knits? Are you interested in cotton? What are you interested in, Sheree? Why didn't your fabric sourcing person come with you? Why didn't your designer come with you to the fabric store? You up there talking about sportswear? Okay. I cannot. Kenya, really good point. Ty has a mentality that I had to work hard, so my kids should too. Please stop. Fact. So many Black parents think like this. And this is the reason why, y'all. This is the reason why. I'm laughing because I'm trying to think about how I want to say this without getting too deep and keeping it short. This is the reason why it seems like Black people cannot generationally get ahead. It's not 100% our fault, y'all. I know that our start line is way further back than a lot of other people's. But a lot of Black parents have the mentality of, if I had to do this, you should too. Even when it comes down to marriages. That's why on these TV shows, and you see the mother-in-laws not getting along with the daughters, even though they have fucked up sons. The mother-in-laws don't get along with the wives because they feel like my son isn't as bad as a man that I chose to be with. That's crazy. They feel like I had to work 3 jobs and go to college and pay my tuition when tuition was $500 fucking dollars. Come on now. And it's unfortunate to me that a lot of Black families, not all, have the belief that, hey, I had to get out the mud, so she got to get out the mud too. No, you need to start her finish line or his finish line way, way in front of yours if you have the ability to do that. Set your family up for success. The only thing that I feel like Black people talk about nowadays is generational wealth, but it's not only wealth that'll get us to where we need to be. It's access. So if your parents were ones that had a degree, they have access to certain things that, their parents didn't have. So yeah, it's the whole thing. Everybody wants to talk about generational wealth, and all they talk about is real estate and businesses. But there's also different levels to it. It's access. Okay. Move back home with your parents after college for a little bit. Okay. So anyway, next, y'all. They finally meet at Sonya's house for Sheree's surprise birthday party. And this is like a prelude to Jamaica. Next, y'all. Kenya and Sonya have a conversation. Sonya's like, hey, Kenya, I want to show you the house. Like, can we walk around so I can show you the house? Kenya's like, yeah, sure. So she's showing her the room. She finally pulls her aside. Okay. This is one of the things that I can't help but call out, y'all. As soon as Kenya hung up on Sonya on the phone call, Sonya immediately said, that shit isn't cool. I'm gonna have a sidebar with her. As soon as Kenya shows up to the house, Sonya pulls her to the side for a sidebar. In what scenario did we ever see Sonya give Drew the respect of having a sidebar? I'll wait. Let me take a sip of water. Somebody let me know, when did Sonya ever give Drew the respect of having a sidebar? I don't think she did. So it's funny how you knew how to act accordingly with Kenya, but when it came to Drew, you wanted to handle everything in front of the group because you wanted to make it clear that you didn't fuck with Drew because you thought that's what everybody else was doing. Girl, you so lame. So lame. And that's the comment right there, Ty. Sonya didn't want to get ate up in front of all the girls. She didn't. But she also respects Kenya, and she wants to continue to be seen in a good light when it comes to Kenya while also being fake. With Drew, she gives no fucks. Okay? None. So Sonya says, hey, I just want to let you know. Girl, sunshine. I doubt it. I would hope that she did. Let's give Sonya a benefit of the doubt and say maybe she learned from the Drew situation. Maybe. I hope so. Anyway, so Sonya says, if you don't like what I'm saying, I just need you to tell me. Just don't hang up in my face. And Kenya says, what you were saying to me made me feel away because I'm trying to get back to who I was before my marriage. And Sonya says, I just want you to know I'm not that type of friend. I would never try to make you feel that way. But you are that type of friend. And you did try to make her feel that way while you were in front of other people. Right? I don't know why my thing is going off. So anyway, y'all. Oh, give me a hot second. And y'all tell me if y'all can still hear me. Can y'all still hear me? I need to see y'all's comment before I keep going. Testing. Can y'all still hear me? Okay, cool. Thank you, Naturally Mar. So anyway, they end up hugging it out. Okay, they end up hugging it out. And then Sheree, she finally arrives to the birthday party. And everybody was scoring on Sonya. Everybody was on Sonya's head. It was funny as hell. They were like, this is a kid's birthday party. Kenya grabs a bottle of wine and she said, I don't do twist tops. And you know what? I'm the same way, Kenya. I don't do twist top wines, okay? I don't like Stella Rosa, okay? Give me a wine with a cork in it, okay? Give me something to go, okay? For sure. So next, y'all, is no bartender, no chef, no music, and they're just cracking up. So Sheree and Drew, it's time for them to start arguing. Drew is saying that Sheree threw a rock and hit her hands. And Sheree is like, what are you talking about? You wasn't ready that day. What are you talking about? And she says, well, I feel like you did it because you brought Fatum around me. And you were throwing a rock and you're using Fatum to do it because she's your lapdog. So Sheree is yelling and she's like, tomato, bitch, tomato. I'm throwing tomatoes at you. And Drew says, maybe you don't remember what happened because you're getting older. I was like, oop. And Sheree says, you better hope you look like me when you get my age. And it was funny because Sheree does look fairly young, but when she said that, all of the age came out of her, right? All of the age. Y'all too funny. You don't like Stella Rosa? I don't like Stella Rosa. I don't. Okay. That's the one I was drinking in college. I don't like it. So anyway, y'all, she does look good. Okay. But I heard on Twitter, hey Carrie, on Twitter that she was saying that her and Drew look the same age. And that was a reach from here to the other side of the country. Because girl, you and Drew don't look the same age at all. Y'all don't look the same age. But Drew and Sheree are like the ultimate housewife bootcamp. Okay. The reads are not landing the way that y'all think they're landing. Like when Sheree said that Drew was built like a can of busted biscuits. That wasn't landing. Okay, when Drew pulled out the bone for Fatum, it didn't land. It didn't land at all. Yep, that's it. She said she looked younger. It didn't land. So I'm just like, I guess seeing these two argue is just like funny because it's like y'all tried it, but y'all are not. It's a no for me. Marlo in her confessional says Marlo look. She says Sheree looks good for 60, which was funny. So then Candy ends up asking Drew to sing "Happy Birthday" to Sheree, and they're like, the vocals aren't there. The vocals probably aren't hitting, and she ends up singing. And Drew actually got a voice on her. Okay, acapella, no cracks, no amazing. Shout out to Portia, no Amazing Grace. I think that Drew actually sang really good. So finally, they move on to Saya wants to go over the rules of the trip because she wants to remind everybody that this is a business trip for her. Everybody can bring plus ones, but weed is not legal in Jamaica and all this other stuff, which I did not know. I did not know. And y'all, to be real, the only thing that may be similar in age on Sheree and Drew is their minds. Okay, because both of these women seem to be naive AF to me. Okay, they seem to be naive AF when it comes to men. So, y'all, that's pretty much all we got for Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, I told y'all, if you're a member on my channel, go check out the community wall so you can be a part of the conversation with Monique of Potomac and Love and Marriage DC. This happening today at 3. But outside of that, y'all, I will see y'all later on in the week after I watch Married at First Sight. So I'll see y'all on Thursday. I didn't do last week. I'm waiting on the show to pick up. Y'all know the first 3 episodes kind of be a waste of time. And quite frankly, I'm tired of wasting my time for 20 damn episodes. So I will come to y'all once the episode starts to get good. But with that being said, y'all, hope y'all enjoy this lunchtime live. It's time for everybody to get back to work. Like, comment, subscribe, please. All that good stuff. And I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.